Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Montgomery. I am 37 years old. I am a white male who lives in North Carolina, more specifically Mount Holly, North Carolina. And today I just wanted to come to you to offer a video. This is kind of my experience as a potential carrier, how I became aware I was a carrier. Hopefully in this story, in this journal, or in these videos, a series of videos I plan on doing, I can kind of expose the flaws in the North Carolina system where contagion was basically passed on, where essentially the system failed before it even began, and what's going on here in North Carolina, at least in my particular instance, where I am doing self-quarantine right now, trying to get tested, which is literally like one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, apparently. Waiting for my employer, or waiting to get back to my job, hopefully, if I survive this, and make money again, because apparently we are in a financial crisis right now. We were completely unprepared for the panic. We were completely unprepared for the situation, and this is just a little bit of my story, my experiences, and essentially how everything's going to go. So, or hopefully go from here. All right, so I'm doing this video a little late. The last couple of days, I've been in self-quarantine. I've been going through a range of emotions, from grief to anger to rage to just helplessness, just utter helplessness. I can't do anything about my situation. I can't change it. I can't get fucking help. I can't get anything done with the Medicare or the medical system here in North Carolina. Testing, as we all are learning now, was a horribly orchestrated thing nationwide from the beginning. Numbers are not being produced properly because testing is just not viable. Efficiency of testing is not viable. The requirements for testing potentially are not viable, simply because they're trying to save it for the most severe cases. So I guess where I can start out is, how did I become a carrier? Some people have asked me, well, how do you know? How do you fucking know this? How do you know if you're a carrier or not? Simply put, as of right now, I don't know I'm a carrier 100% sure, because I cannot get tested soon enough. I have been waiting. I basically have to wait for a week to be tested. Monday, I go in for a preliminary appointment. That's not even the test. And I don't even know if the people at the health department are aware that I am a COVID-19 potential carrier, or what's going on. I have to call them Monday morning and basically do their jobs for them, because I cannot trust the system right now to record that I'm a carrier and that I'm trying to come in to be tested. And I did touch my face, but I do wash my hands religiously. At this point in time, like every fucking 20 fucking seconds, fuck 20 minutes, it feels like I'm washing my hands every 10 seconds now. Anyway, so I'm going to take you back to a week ago now, roughly. It was the Friday last week, which would have made that the 14th or the 13th. So Friday the 13th, ironically enough, I didn't even know that. I came back to work. I was off that Thursday, the 12th, and I came back to work on Friday the 13th. And that day I came back, essentially my store, I work at a grocery retail store. I'm not going to name the chain because I don't want to have any kind of liability issues in the future. But essentially the retail store where I worked was overrun. It was overrun. It was overwhelmed with customers. It was all we could do to keep up with a full man staff and everybody there, and we were just being beaten into the ground, literally, and it was going on all day. I came back later in that afternoon, or I came in to start my shift around 12 o'clock, midday, and already it was bad, and it was continued to be bad throughout the entire day. I was like a lot of retailers at this point, because I have a lot of retail experience. I assumed that this was something like a snow day, because usually before snow day, a natural disaster like a hurricane, People will flood supermarkets, get prepared, obviously, for what's to come. This was not that. Essentially, I was in aisles, jammed in aisles, in close proximity with people who were openly sick, people who were coughing, people who were, sneezing on each other. Nobody was using protective measures. Nobody was coughing into their elbows. Nothing. So already I knew it was bad. Already I knew that I could have, within like a couple hours of being at work, I knew that I could have potentially been exposed to hundreds of carriers at this point of this virus. And I didn't panic. I didn't panic because I figured, okay, well, maybe it's something else. The virus doesn't have any cases here in North Carolina, so maybe, I should be fine, right? It's probably hay fever or something else going on. I knew the reasonable explanation, so I was pretty confident at that point, well, it could be something else. And I had yet to really look at the news or any kind of coverage of this. I had no idea how apparently immediately the problem had become crystal clear to a lot of people on Thursday while I was off, and I wasn't watching the news because I tend not to look at news networks now if I can help it, because it's honestly fucking depressing. But with that being said, I had no fucking clue that essentially the world had started to, catch on fire. That the fucking panic had full set in. Things were going nuts. Cases were being revealed in other states. It had spread. Things were bad. So I came in Friday not knowing anything about this, being blissfully unaware. Walked right into a situation where I'm stocking a truck. Find out the Thursday before then, the day before then, the panic had officially started, and the store that I was at was just completely overwhelmed with customers that day, and the next day it was completely overwhelmed with customers. So I'm in the aisles, this guy who walks in, right? Everybody in the grocery store has like hundreds of dollars worth of groceries, okay? The panic is on, but there's a guy who comes walking up. We go to paper goods because by this point, the second day, our paper goods are wiped out. Our paper goods are wiped out. And bearing in mind, to say that I was not aware of what was going on is kind of a lie, because a couple of days before I was off, people started coming in and buying hand sanitizer. The Lysol spray had already pretty much sold out. A customer was telling me that, basically he had went, and things weren't busy as of yet. People had not started to panic. So a customer told me like a couple of days, basically like a couple of days before then or whatever, that he was going around to Walgreens and stuff trying to find hand sanitizer, but he couldn't. And we kind of had a mild discussion about the coronavirus and all that stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, well, this is just like some little viral, epidemic going on overseas, and people are just getting kind of weirded out, and it's not that big of a deal. So I go, I work another day, still nothing. That Thursday when I'm off, apparently the shit hits the fan. That Friday when I come back the 13th, going back to the customer that potentially infected me and two other employees. At this point, I don't know if they're exhibiting symptoms or if they got problems or anything, but essentially, I was in the aisle. I was stocking, paper goods, because that had already ran out. The paper goods had been wiped out, on the shelves. We got in a truck that day. I was working stocking. I was stocking the paper goods, and as soon as we brought out the truck, as soon as we brought out the paper goods, people were flooding the aisles. So I'm in close proximity in this grocery aisle with tons of customers standing around me, right? And at this point, I'm already pretty much aware that something had went wrong. Something had went wrong. Something's going wrong. People are talking about the virus. I hadn't gone home yet to look at the news or anything, so I'm still unaware of how bad it's gotten or what's happened in the general state of America, okay? So I'm sitting there in a grocery store, once again, in a grocery store full of customers. A guy comes walking by, has a bloodshot eye, and he is visibly very sick. He is coughing. He is coughing very, very much. And this guy does not have anything in his hands. And he comes right within like a foot of me and starts coughing and sneezing up and down the aisle as he's walking up and down the aisle. Not covering his mouth, not trying to protect himself, nothing. That was concerning in and of itself. But then, realizing that, okay, and in the moment, I really did not realize what just happened. I really did not take it all in because, it was just like the panic, trying to do my job, trying to serve the community. And at that point, I did not realize what was really happening to the country once again. So I really wasn't too worried about it. But I had to get like paper goods to customers, unstock the truck, because we were in a panic. It was panic mode for the customers, and we were just trying to keep on top of this shit and get shit stocked as fast as possible and things out the door as fast as possible. So what happened over the next 4 days before I left work was generally basically that day and the Thursday before happened every single fucking day at the store I worked. All days were just horrible. They were just horrible. Like, we could not keep up with the workflow. Older customers standing around like nothing was wrong. People coming in coughing and sneezing, not covering their mouths. People coming in letting their kids run all over the fucking store. People not, just generally the masses not even giving a shit about the retail workers or the people that are in the store. They had us overwhelmed, and if they decided to riot and tear that place apart, we would have had no recourse but to just fucking let them do it, because that's how many people were in the store. I work as a customer service lead or a front end clerk. Essentially, my job is to help bag groceries, assist the cashiers, run around, gather up returns, pick up the front end, go get buggies, stuff like that. So essentially, I'm all over the place in the store. But when I do stocking, I'm more or less locked down, and I have to go to the back to help out things, and I'm not at the front end of the store. And over the next 4 days, things were just horrible. Things were just bad and stuff like that. And essentially, it got to the 4th day, or my last day at work, where at that point, I was kind of stretched to the limit. The day before, I worked a 10-hour shift. I worked 8 hours on the front end, and then I come in and work like another 2 hours, 2.5 hours at night doing stocking, so I can get like as many hours as possible. So I'm helping on the front end. I'm doing shit on the back end. So that Monday, basically I left work, I believe Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, Tuesday the 17th. But I went into work. It was another horrible day that Monday. I could barely keep up with the carts. I was trying to push buggies into, the fucking doors. People were coming out the door so fast, I'd have to wait like, a full minute before I could pull the buggies back in. And as soon as I got buggies in, as soon as we, got any in, they were being used. People were filling up 2-3 buggies at a time, stuff like that. The next day I started doing the same thing about an hour into my shift. And at this point, I'm physically just taxed to my limit, because for the last 4 days, it's been nothing but just go, 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 hustle, 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 go, go, go. So I get to that day, and then a customer coincidentally comes up, and I'm starting to feel symptoms when I come into work that day. I'm already starting to feel weird, and I'm starting to feel symptomatic of the coronavirus, the COVID-19. And she comes in, an older woman who should not be in the store, by the way. Like, I cannot, once again, I'm going to have to emphasize that I could not tell you how many older people came into that store who should have not been mixing with any of the sick customers I saw. But they were doing it. Now, bearing in mind at this point, it is worth noting that at this point, North Carolina has no reported cases. It would be another three days, I believe, before one case popped up in Gaston County, and that's because of the testing, which I'll go to cover in a later video. Now it's just the story of what happened that day. So I'm ringing out the customer at that point, and we're kind of stretched, so they go to the back end to help somebody. Several cashiers go to the back end to help somebody in meat, try to stock the meat, because the meat's getting wiped out, and they got luncheon meats and stuff like that. So we're just trying to keep on top of customer demand at this point, which I understand. I hold no ill will to that. But basically what was happening then was the same shit that was happening every 4 days. And I kind of honestly got frustrated because I couldn't manage it by myself. I couldn't sit there and let cashiers not do their job while there's lines and lines of people piling up. It's like we all got to be on the same page. We all have to be on it. And I'm just hustling trying to keep up with this. Meanwhile, I'm starting to feel like I'm running a fever. I started sweating out of nowhere. My throat's sore. I'm, obviously having a hard time kind of breathing at points. I'm short of breath. Some stuff's happening to my body. I'm starting to get cramps all over my body. I'm starting to feel like effects of this. And I start to wonder, I'm like, oh shit, am I a carrier now? My mind is really not even in that place at that moment. I'm just trying to keep up with the workflow. And I go to the register and I ring up this old woman who only buys like $10 worth of groceries. And it just slips out that I'm sick. And it's like all of a sudden the customer behind her starts to chime in. And they both kind of start attacking me at this point. And I'm like, well, you know, and I'm not really trying to attack customers at this point, but I am trying to state facts. It's like, well, you know, I can't really tell because things have been so busy. You know, and I don't know what, you know, I don't know what to do. And it's like, basically, I may have the virus. I don't know. It's like, you know, there's been sick people in here. And one customer's like, well, you shouldn't blame the customers. And it's like, well, yes, the fuck I should, because you guys know already to stay the fuck at home if you're exhibiting symptoms. But I'm not trying to blame the customers. I'm not trying to do that at this point. And then the woman gets pissed off at me. The older woman gets really pissed off. She's like, you shouldn't be working if you're sick. And it's like, well, ma'am, I got bills to pay. I don't have sick time. Well, that's no excuse. We all got bills to pay. All right. Okay. And that just sets me off. Right. And I'm really trying to keep my fucking cool at this point, because it's like, you know, no offense to her, but it's like, you old bitter bitch. What the fuck is your problem? Like, you know, can you not see what we're dealing with daily here? Can you not see what's going on? Are you fucking crazy to be out here? You're over 60 years old. Why the fuck are you even out here buying $10 worth of shit you didn't need? Why are you in this? Why are you here right now? There's another store 2 miles down the road. Believe me, there's another fucking grocery store 2 miles down the road that was nowhere near as crowded as our store. She could have went there and got her $10 worth of shit, but it's almost like people in this town are treating this right now as a carnival. Like, at this point, they're treating it like a damn event, like a party. Like, let's go out and have fun at the grocery store and watch people panic shop. So I'm dealing with the sickness, and simultaneously I'm dealing with the sickness. I got 4 other customers in line who need to be serviced. This woman's throwing a goddamn hissy fit. I'm trying to explain to her, ma'am, this is why I'm here. You know, I don't have a choice. I don't have any fucking sick pay or sick time. If I call out one time, I'm in my first 90 days of this job. If I call out one time with this job, I'm on my final termination. So I have to pick and choose when I call out, basically. So and I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you, ma'am. I'm sorry. Tell my boss, because I'm just focused on getting her to fuck out of my face so I can get to these other 4 people in line and get the job done, to be honest with you. I really don't even give a shit what else she has to say at this point, because she's acting like an incoherent bitch who has fucking something eating her goddamn brainstem, obviously, to come out in this fucking shit to get some damn $10 worth of groceries. It was fucking stupid. But she walks over to my boss. I finish ringing up these people. My boss starts kind of getting on my ass and asking, what do you need? What do you need? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm sick. I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, if you're sick, go home. And I'm like, all right, I'm leaving. And I threw down my damn little walkie thing that I got, took off my fucking vest, left it sitting in the fucking office, and I just fucking went home. I clocked out immediately and left. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this, dude. Like, I'm not going to sit here and have you talk to me like I'm a piece of shit after I've been here for 4 days breaking my goddamn back for you people and possibly getting the plague of our time infested in my fucking lungs. So at that point, I was taking the risk, because I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking sick, and I got old people in my face yelling at me, and I'm giving them whatever I have. So if I'm giving them the virus that's going to kill them, I don't want to be responsible for that. I really fucking don't at this point. So I clock out. I go to the back. I share some words with another customer, because, you know, that day, you know, after the first day I came back to work and I found out what was going on, I basically did all the research I could. And every day I was looking at, you know, the news feeds. It was getting worse. It was getting a lot worse. So I knew at this point that the outbreak has already happened. I knew at this point, you know, despite what the numbers of testing or whatever the hell else was telling me, something was going on in my town, because this many people walking around coughing and sneezing and fucking sick, and this pathogen spreading through America, I knew something had already gone wrong. I felt it in my heart of hearts. I knew it was gone wrong because I started exhibiting symptoms myself. So I'm like, okay, clearly somebody in this town is infected. Clearly I came in touch with somebody who was infected. And now I'm showing symptoms. So that day when I came in, I told some people, I was like, you know, I think it's funny that the government puts out a post that says avoid gatherings of 50 to 100 people, and almost immediately every American goes to the fucking nearest grocery store and creates gatherings of 50 to 100 people to spread the pathogen. That's where it failed right there. If you want to know where it failed, it wasn't in the government, it wasn't in the testing. I mean, the government helped, but it wasn't in all the other measures except for the simple fact of people created gatherings of 50 to 100 people in grocery stores, so the mandate was kind of useless. So with that being said, I clock out, I leave, and I immediately proceed to walk home because it's like, okay, at this point I'm thinking I cannot call my ride because I don't want them trapped in a closed fucking space with me with no mask or anything to cover my mouth or whatever the hell else is going on with me. And I don't know if I'm even sanitary from being in this fucking place all day. So, or even for an hour at this point. So at that point, I sit down, and I honestly got to admit to you, I sat down at the CVS parking lot. I was walking the 2 miles home. I sat down in the parking lot with my backpack and my hoodie on and stuff, and I just fucking cried. I broke down and I fucking cried. Because I'm like, this is goddamn ridiculous. This is fucking insane. Because at that point, I assumed I had just lost my job over some bullshit that I could not control. And I guess in the next video, I will cover pretty much sitting there in that parking lot, what my mind was going through, what I felt, and why I was basically having a breakdown at that moment, and why I would have subsequent breakdowns since then. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. If you could like and subscribe, it would help me spread the word about my artwork, spread the word about my story. That might help other people in quarantine right now, or at least people who are suspected carriers who have yet to be tested, because once again, testing nationwide is just a fucking joke at this point. So just to let you know, and thank you for watching. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, do what you can do to share my works right now. It would really help me out a lot, and I appreciate you. Okay, you have a good day, and be safe out there. The next video, I will cover breakdowns and crying and basically the emotional, problems that I've had since, getting this status. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.